scientists announced the San Andreas Fault is due for another major earthquake, specifically in Southern California.
A sudden surge of activity along the San Andreas Fault has captured the full attention of geologists and emergency response authorities after the United States Geological Survey (USGS) issued a rare and alarming red alert. The alert comes in the wake of the discovery of a rapidly widening crack near a volatile segment of the fault, indicating a critical level of geological instability. This development has sent shockwaves through the scientific community, given the immense potential consequences of such seismic agitation in a fault zone that has long been considered one of the most dangerous in North America. Before we start, smash the like and subscribe buttons for more updates. The San Andreas Fault stretches approximately 800 miles through California, forming the boundary between the Pacific and North American tectonic plates. It is notorious for its seismic history, having produced some of the most devastating earthquakes in U.S. history. Now, with the USGS Red Alert, the highest level of warning in their system, focus has intensified on a section of the fault that has begun showing highly unusual behavior. Satellite imaging, ground sensors, and deep Earth probes have all confirmed significant shifts in the Earth's crust, particularly around the fault's southern segment, which has not released a major earthquake in over 300 years. This anomaly is now showing clear signs of critical stress accumulation. The crack itself, spanning several meters in width in some locations, has been expanding at an unprecedented rate, accompanied by ground uplift, gas emissions, and microseismic swarms. These are the precursors of major tectonic movement, and the concern lies in the fact that the San Andreas Fault, being a strike-slip fault, is already under constant pressure. The sudden shift in geological behavior suggests that the fault is reaching a breaking point. This isn't just about surface rupture. This is about the potential for a full-scale rupture deep beneath the surface, which could release immense energy accumulated over centuries. Advanced geological modeling has been employed to simulate the fault's behavior, and the results have been chilling. They suggest that the energy currently trapped along the stressed zone of the fault is equivalent to hundreds of Hiroshima-level detonations. While the models cannot predict the exact moment of rupture, the indicators are clear. A major seismic event is imminent unless pressure is somehow diffused. However, unlike volcanic activity where magma can be vented or redirected, the San Andreas Fault offers no such release mechanisms. The plates will continue to grind until one abruptly lurches forward, unleashing devastation. This red alert is not merely a theoretical forecast. It represents a confluence of observable data points that signal a rare geological alignment. Ground deformation has accelerated, with GPS stations across the fault showing abnormal horizontal and vertical shifts. These aren't slow or gradual. They are abrupt enough to trigger automatic shutoff systems on some infrastructure networks. Bridges, tunnels, and pipelines built near the fault have already begun to undergo emergency structural evaluations as a precautionary response. Engineers understand that even the most robust design specifications are only estimates when faced with nature's full force. Beyond the realm of geophysics, the implications ripple across society in profound ways. California, home to tens of millions of people and one of the largest economies in the world, rests precariously on this fault line. A rupture here would not be a localized disaster. It would have cascading effects through national and global markets. Ports, data centers, financial districts, and critical logistics chains lie in the path of potential devastation. The psychological impact of such a red alert is already evident in the heightened public anxiety and media scrutiny. But the tangible risks are even more pressing. Critical infrastructure, particularly those built before modern seismic codes, has been placed under heightened observation. Water reservoirs, electrical substations, and communication networks are especially vulnerable. The San Andreas Fault runs perilously close to key aqueducts and power transmission corridors, and a rupture would not only damage the lines themselves, but also the terrain supporting them. Infrastructural collapse could paralyze emergency response efforts, trapping communities without access to vital services. The timing of the red alert has also raised alarms in meteorological circles. Southern California has experienced a wetter than average year, resulting in higher groundwater saturation. This softens the surrounding soils and increases the likelihood of landslides in hilly areas, compounding the risks posed by seismic activity. The combination of shaking ground and destabilized slopes could lead to catastrophic secondary events like mud flows and dam collapses, especially in mountainous regions near populated zones. Despite decades of preparation drills, public awareness campaigns, and advanced early warning systems, the unique nature of this red alert has challenged even seasoned experts. Most alerts in the past were short-term, often triggered by a single event or anomaly. What distinguishes this alert is the sustained and accelerating pattern of instability. It's not just one indicator going off. It's a systemic cascade of geophysical red flags pointing toward the same conclusion. This level of coordinated evidence from both natural observation and machine learning predictive systems has rarely occurred. In the field, USGS geologists have reported a distinct audible hum near certain parts of the fault, low-frequency tremors caused by deep movement between the plates. While not always detectable to the human ear, these vibrations, captured by advanced seismometers, suggest that the plates are actively slipping in some areas, potentially redistributing stress to more volatile segments. The danger here is that a smaller quake in one segment can trigger a domino effect along adjacent segments, resulting in a cascading rupture, a worst-case scenario feared by seismologists. Such a cascading event could start near the Salton Sea in Southern California and propagate northwest toward the densely populated Los Angeles basin and beyond. The energy transfer would be so immense that standard structural defenses would struggle to withstand it. The fault doesn't rupture in tidy lines, it splinters, radiates, and twists. And every variation in local geology influences the direction and speed of energy transmission. That's what makes the modeling so complex and the danger so unpredictable. In scientific labs and data centers, researchers are working around the clock, analyzing new seismic readings in real time. Artificial intelligence systems are correlating massive data sets, comparing this event with every known fault line rupture recorded worldwide. These efforts are part of a broader scientific mission to understand not just this moment, but the broader implications of an evolving fault system under stress. The hope is not to prevent the inevitable, that remains outside of human control, but to gain enough lead time to implement defensive measures that can save lives. One of the unique challenges in this situation is communication. The public relies on clear, consistent messaging, but geological phenomena are inherently uncertain. Scientists and officials must walk a fine line between preparing communities and avoiding panic. The red alert designation itself is a stark warning, but one that demands contextual understanding. It does not signify that an earthquake will happen tomorrow. It signifies that all available data suggest a rupture is highly likely in the near term. That near term could mean hours, days, or weeks, but the uncertainty is unnerving for many. In response to the alert, key transportation routes across the state have been placed on contingency plans. Some freight routes are being rerouted, and rail systems have increased automated fault detection intervals. Even air traffic routes are being reviewed, especially those that depend on navigation and communication towers located within critical fault-adjacent zones. These precautionary steps, while disruptive, are vital to maintaining continuity in the face of possible grid failure or structural collapse. Meanwhile, scientists emphasize the importance of monitoring secondary fault lines as well. The San Andreas does not exist in isolation. It is part of a complex web of interconnected faults like the Hayward, Calaveras, and Garlock faults. When one segment shifts, it redistributes pressure across the system, and this can awaken previously dormant faults. That is perhaps the most haunting prospect of all, the idea that this red alert could be not just the harbinger of a single quake, but the catalyst for a chain reaction of seismic activity across the state. Preparations among emergency response teams have reached peak levels. Mobile hospitals, helicopter landing zones, water purification units, and satellite communication stations have all been readied in strategic areas. Urban search and rescue units trained to respond in post-quake environments are conducting final checks on their gear and resources. These teams may be the first line of response in communities cut off by collapsed roads, fallen bridges, or landslides. The red alert has also spurred a wave of academic discussion about long-term tectonic change. Some experts argue that the San Andreas Fault may be entering a new phase of geological activity, one that might persist for years or even decades. This could involve more frequent moderate earthquakes, interspersed with larger, more destructive ones. The implications for urban planning, architecture, and resource management are immense. Cities like Los Angeles and San Francisco may need to reimagine their entire infrastructure around a more seismically volatile future. Cities like Los Angeles and San Francisco may need to reimagine their entire infrastructure around a more seismically volatile future. Insurance companies, too, are recalculating risk models. Earthquake insurance in California has long been a niche product, often expensive and with limited coverage. But with the red alert in effect, demand has surged, and actuarial data is being reprocessed in light of the new threat level. The economic ripple effect is already making itself felt in real estate markets, logistics contracts, and even tourism. While the scientific focus remains on understanding and preparing for the rupture, the human element of this unfolding event cannot be overlooked. Communities across California are revisiting their emergency kits, reviewing evacuation plans, and participating in local preparedness drills. Schools are reinforcing their earthquake protocols, and hospitals are cross-checking surge capacity plans. The red alert is as much a call to awareness as it is a technical classification. It reminds everyone that living along the San Andreas Fault is a balance between modern convenience and ancient, unpredictable forces. The situation is being closely monitored not only by U.S. agencies but also by international seismological institutions. The San Andreas Fault is considered a global case study in plate tectonics and seismic behavior, and developments here often inform policy and scientific practices worldwide. The red alert issued by the USGS marks a turning point in how geologic threat levels are communicated and acted upon. It brings with it a sobering realization that despite all our technological advancements, Earth's fundamental processes remain both majestic and terrifying in their unpredictability. As the crack continues to expand and the ground trembles ever so slightly beneath millions of feet, the pressure builds, not just within the Earth, but in the minds of those who live atop it. This moment, suspended in tension, holds the weight of centuries of geologic time and human anticipation. The San Andreas Fault has whispered for decades. Now it begins to shout. The increasing strain detected along the San Andreas Fault has also triggered a deeper inquiry into its historical seismic cycles, particularly focusing on Paleoseismic evidence that might shed light on the current developments. Scientists are now re-examining soil layers, sediment disruptions, and fossil displacements along the fault's path to understand previous patterns of behavior leading up to major ruptures. This forensic-style geological analysis offers a time-lapse of catastrophic episodes recorded not by human observation but by the Earth itself. These ancient signatures are often buried beneath layers of sediment and only become visible through detailed trenching and subsurface imaging. Early results have indicated that the last significant rupture in the now critical southern segment of the fault was not a standalone event, but part of a sequence, possibly triggered by adjacent stress zones, suggesting that today's seismic disturbances could be the preamble to another complex multi-fault rupture event. Interestingly, the latest analysis includes input from marine geologists who are examining offshore fault extensions beneath the Pacific Ocean. These undersea segments are often overlooked due to their inaccessibility, yet they play a crucial role in the regional tectonic network. Recent sonar mapping and ocean bottom seismograph readings have revealed that tremors recorded under the seabed are mirroring those inland. Such synchronization in seismic signals suggests an interconnected fault system operating in concert rather than isolation. This expands the zone of concern far beyond what the public typically associates with the San Andreas Fault, pulling coastal and even underwater geographies into the sphere of risk. New technologies have been deployed to track these developments with unprecedented precision. Swarms of autonomous sensors, both land-based and aerial, are relaying real-time data to centralized systems that analyze patterns using machine learning algorithms. These systems are trained to detect anomalies that precede seismic events, such as subtle changes in electromagnetic fields, ground resistivity, and radon gas emissions. Several of these indicators have already been triggered in recent days, further supporting the urgent rationale behind the USGS's red alert. What is most significant is the volume and consistency of these indicators across a wide geographical spread, This isn't a localized fault zone experiencing tremors. It's an expansive seismic system lighting up with distress signals across hundreds of miles. Geochemical markers, too, have contributed to the growing body of concern. Deep boreholes drilled into fault-adjacent regions have shown a spike in helium-3 isotopes, rare gases that typically originate from the Earth's mantle and only reach the surface when deep fractures occur. These isotopic anomalies are a strong sign of significant subterranean disruption, and they rarely appear unless there is a major upheaval underway. The detection of these gases has aligned closely with areas of ground uplift, indicating a vertical component to the fault's recent movements. Vertical thrusting in a strike-slip system is a particularly dangerous sign, as it often correlates with more intense surface ruptures and higher potential for destruction. Amid these scientific investigations, researchers are also probing the atmospheric effects of fault zone activity. A few cutting-edge studies have documented that rapidly shifting stress underground can influence atmospheric ionization levels, sometimes even disturbing local weather patterns. These interactions are not yet fully understood, but anomalies in the ionosphere above parts of Southern California have coincided with seismic surges along the fault. The correlation, while not conclusive, raises fascinating questions about the breadth of a seismic event's reach, not just underground but above ground as well. From a geophysical standpoint, the San Andreas Fault is essentially a tension spring that has been wound over centuries. The Pacific Plate's relentless northwest movement against the North American Plate results in stress concentrations that accumulate without visible consequence for decades, even centuries. Then, in a matter of seconds, that energy can be released in an explosive movement that reshapes entire landscapes. It's this unpredictable release mechanism that makes forecasting earthquakes so difficult and yet so urgently necessary. The red alert in this sense represents not an alarmist conclusion, but a sober recognition of what the data is unequivocally pointing toward. Further inland, researchers are investigating how the Mojave Desert and the Coachella Valley, both regions threaded by secondary fault lines, might respond to a major rupture along the San Andreas. The dry, brittle terrain in these areas tends to fracture violently during seismic events, often leading to dramatic surface changes like fault scarps, ground fissures, and sand blows. In fact, drone surveillance of the region has already revealed linear disruptions in desert crust. Small but clear evidence that stress is manifesting physically. These silent fractures, unnoticed by most residents, can act as precursors to larger displacements. An additional layer of concern involves the hydraulic pressures within the Earth's crust, in and around the fault zone. Water seepage from recent rains has penetrated deep into fault fractures, and as it lubricates certain fault planes, it can alter the frictional properties of those segments. This phenomenon, known as fault weakening, can allow segments that were previously locked to slide more easily, acting like a trigger mechanism for quake propagation. Some seismologists argue that this combination of water intrusion, increasing pressure, and accumulated stress represents a trifecta of instability that could culminate in an earthquake more powerful than any recorded in modern California history. In urban areas, architectural resilience is undergoing rigorous reassessment. Skyscrapers in downtown Los Angeles and San Francisco, built to modern seismic standards, are being inspected for their actual responsiveness to multi-directional shaking. The danger in large earthquakes is not just the vertical bounce, but the lateral sway, an oscillating motion that can wreak havoc on the tallest structures. Engineers are employing vibration simulations that go beyond historical data, inputting worst-case ground acceleration values that reflect the current threat level. The results are sobering. Even with sophisticated countermeasures like base isolators and tuned mass dampers, a quake of the magnitude now being considered could push existing infrastructure to the edge of collapse. Emergency response frameworks are also evolving in real time. With the red alert status in effect, cross-agency coordination between FEMA, Cal OES, and local jurisdictions has intensified. These teams are running concurrent simulations, adjusting deployment strategies based on the changing conditions reported by geologists. Crucially, evacuation protocols are being stress-tested, especially for vulnerable populations such as hospital patients, elderly residents, and school children. The logistical challenge is staggering. Evacuating even small urban segments in time for a massive quake requires not only speed, but extraordinary coordination. Psychologists and sociologists have been brought into planning circles to advise on public communication and behavioral response. Human reaction to seismic alerts can vary from panic to paralysis, and experts are working to fine-tune messages that are clear, urgent, but not panic-inducing. Community engagement programs are being updated to reflect new realities, ensuring that the red alert does not merely exist as a line of text on a government website, but is actively understood by the people who are most affected. If you like this video, please give it a like and subscribe to our channel. Also, leave your comments below and tell us, what are your thoughts on San Andreas Fault crack? Will a big quake happen? We want to hear from you. Thank you for watching and see you next time.